Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday afternoon work session. We appreciate everyone being here. We've been, over the last several weeks, we've been holding these sessions, and we have a mental health tax that comes up for renewal or it's set to sunset actually at the end of the year, and we'll be looking at that. And so we've been holding having people come in and talk to us and how they use that. So we're awfully glad to have the attendance here to talk to us about this. I don't know who the spokesman is for you on this. Judge, you said you were here to just look good. Okay. So, and you can, we actually have, you can use that table for a couple of them. And also you can, I don't know how many of you here, but this one's available too. So if you want to come up and do that, yeah.
So I'd like to add that the chairman is proud to say that he is the youngest here.
Yeah.
I'm the oldest.
Yeah.
If you speak into the microphone, I'll be able to hear you. If you speak to the side, I may. So just asking for a little consideration.
Yeah, please. All right. Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Michael Evans. I'm the current therapeutic courts judge. So drug court is an effective societal tool of transformation that changes lives, improves relationships, and strengthens our community. I respectfully request that you continue to support and fund drug court. It's of no great importance to me whether the source of that financial support comes through the 1/10 of 1% behavioral health tax or from the general fund. What is critical to many members of our community is that funding for drug court continue, no matter its source. So I informally call our drug court the metamorphosis court, because through this therapeutic court, individuals who have been dramatically damaged and who have caused their own fair share of damage are changed. They hold down jobs, they pay their rent, they care for their children, they provide compassionate care for their elderly parents. They are evolving from a lower plane of living to a higher one. Importantly, they can be compared to the miraculous metamorphosis of the ground crawling caterpillar to a soaring and noble monarch butterfly. This monarch butterfly is known for its stunning beauty. The vibrant orange wings with the black veins and the white spots are its trademark. They somehow complete an epic journey of 3,000 miles to Mexico. But before any of these glorious and awe-inspiring happenings occur, we must remember that the monarch butterfly starts as an egg, then becomes a caterpillar, feasting on and damaging milkweed plants. In the mummy-like chrysalis stage, tissues and organs are broken down and reassembled to form the glorious adult butterfly. In a word, they metamorphosize, or more properly stated, they undergo metamorphosis. While all metaphors break down at some point, this great orange and black butterfly is representative of the grand evolution and change that comes into the lives of drug court participants. Our staff and team members of the Cowlitz County Drug Court, they daily apply their skill and passion supporting the transformation of seemingly common and everyday court participants into evolved, changed, and contributing community members. They accomplish that through the applications of principles of accountability, honesty, transparency, and service. We all know that active drug users burn bridges. Formerly drug-using drug court clients, they rebuild and clear the charred remains. Men and women prior to their involvement in drug court committed multiple, often very scary crimes. Those same individuals now in drug court and graduated from drug court obey the law and encourage others to do the same. Unemployment and the lack of education is very common for those opting into drug court. It's just as common for those same folks now involved in drug court to enjoy satisfying employment and educational attainment. Lazy, undisciplined pre-drug court clients had time on their hands to do whatever. Those once sluggish and slothful folks, now working under the structure of drug court, keep up with a calendar filled with appointments for recovery, mental and physical health, community service, work, school, and family. Just as lepers in the ancient world needed treatment, not shunning, our modern day lepers, sometimes called drug addicts, also need treatment and accountability. This treatment and metamorphosis is supported through your decision to fund drug court. I urge you to please fully fund drug court, either through the general fund or through 0.1% behavioral health tax. Thank you.
You up for questions,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman? I'm familiar with drug court, and it's probably a reasonable description, maybe a little more fauna than flora, but nevertheless, I'm not sure where the insect sits in that. But I liked it. In the real world, you embark on a path and you decide, as functioning, operating the drug court, that there are things you would like to improve. What are your thoughts there? What would you change?
Our current society has chosen drug court as the vehicle to provide recovery treatment services. So bearing that burden as the Superior Court Drug Court, expansion of the program is always warranted. We see a lot of people out in the community that are untreated and are struggling, and their families are struggling, and they wreak a lot of havoc on our community. So adding an additional case manager, right now we're pushing about 100 clients. There's 2 case managers. They do a lot. If we have an additional drug court or case aid manager, that would aid and support additional individuals recovering and attaining those monarch butterfly qualities.
At some point, you will tell us how many you have on staff in drug court.
Yes, we will.
I'll hold that one. When you look at, it always boils down to price tag, because to help one person here, you've got to take from others. There is no free money. And that's always puts us in an awkward spot. Out of 114,000 people, how many of them would voluntarily say, I'm going to chip into drug court? If I could, I would ask it to be operated like that, but of course I can't. So my question there ties into Narcotics Anonymous. If I assume it's as successful as Alcoholics Anonymous, is a very low price tag and a very high success, because you're actually dealing with your peer support. And it's really difficult to, I think, be in trouble and then you go through something, let's call it drug court. And I hope you'll just say, no, Aaron, that's not how it operates. They'll go through drug court, but then they go back to the environment that they had before. That sort of got them into trouble. So I am actually asking, in a roundabout way, how do we deal with that problem of getting back into a problem society? And that ties into recidivism. And the recidivism number I'm looking for is going to be kind of couched in, if you'll pardon the hackneyed phrase, the give back to society. So people, through their own choices, made bad choices, and it cost everybody a lot. Are they now on the give back to society standpoint, and will that ever be achieved? So I've thrown out a few ideas for discussion.
Thanks. So my sense with, occasionally we will get folks that are nearing the end of their drug court program. And for some, there's great nervousness of like, wow, I've got to do this kind of alone without maybe as much community as I've had in the past, or accountability especially. What we promote, and you'll find with most drug court participants, is that they have sponsors. They go to groups, they go to meetings, which are separate and distinct from the therapy, where they develop new friendships that are with clean and sober folks. And so they're in process of building that community and also restoring the community that they once had. So when they leave the program, that's the hope, is they have a fully formed community that's there to support them. To your second point, as far as dollars and the like, low cost, Narcotics Anonymous and AA and other self-help meetings are very helpful and very supportive and can be very effective. At times, when a person's been addicted and created a tremendous rut in their lives, sometimes there needs to be a jolt, and sometimes that jolt is the ever-present steel hand covered by the velvet glove, which represents the court. So sometimes there needs to be that hard jolt of possible community service or jail time to put people into a different realm or different sphere. And you probably touched on a few other points, but those are the ones that I wanted to address first. And if you want to follow up, I could probably add something to the others.
I'm sure Adam will talk to us about several of those factors. Right. Then let me switch gear a moment. It's probably more applicable to a judge, which is in the view of the prior to the Blake decision, it was fairly clear to me, at least, how drug court operated. Subsequent to that, there have been some ups and downs, and the COVID fiasco left a bad taste in my mouth, but it didn't take my taste away like it did for some. So how are we doing with the latest changes of the Blake decision?
Before the Blake decision, a lot of the drug court clients were there on simple possession charges. Blake took that away. You can no longer be charged and convicted of a drug possession crime, although there are works to change that. Post Blake, numbers dwindled due to COVID and other factors. And now we're seeing more folks that are coming in on property crimes. We know that property crimes is a common outgrowth of drug addiction. So we see that there has been maybe a little more flexibility in the prosecutor's office to allow charged crimes that weren't necessarily available to get into drug court before. There's a little more flexibility on the prosecutors end to allow those folks in. So we've seen our numbers approaching a pre-Blake time. So we're at that level. I think the clientele is similar, and it's just the drug addiction is there, and it manifests in different ways. But we're moving to, I think, we're clearly in a post-Blake world where there's plenty of folks to be served and improved.
As a personal preference, I prefer this approach because there is a victim, there is damage being done external to the individual, and that's a good thing to eliminate if you can.
Absolutely.
And then my last question: if with such advocacy for the program, is it reasonable, or how does one extend it beyond going through the legal system? Can someone decide that program works and I'm in trouble? Can I just volunteer and go in there, or do I have to go and do a breaking and entering or something?
It's a great question. So if somebody wants to voluntarily say, hey, I need drug court and I want to sign up for drug court, I hereby waive any rights, and you can penalize me and put me in jail if I don't follow the rules. Novel question. I don't have a novel answer for you at this point.
Would you accept that if someone came up to you?
There would be certain issues I think we'd need to look carefully at.
Okay.
But it's a novel approach. It's worth considering.
Okay, thank you.
There's a box.
You can't very well throw people in jail unless they've been charged. That
Right. I mean,
that would be the first slight problem with
yeah,
that.
and maybe community service, we could require something like that. Or
So in the funding, you mentioned the mental health tax as well as the general fund.
yes, sir.
Of course, there is another pretty important source of revenue for drug court, and that's the Criminal Justice Treatment Act funds that comes directly from the state to the counties, in large measure to pay for those who can't afford the treatment or they're not covered by insurance. And that is more fully funded now than it had been several years ago, as we were dealing with the fact that with the ACA, insurance is now available to just about everybody until you join the jail. And then your insurance through Medicaid disappears. So the need is still there to provide funds for the treatment for those who don't have insurance on their own. So we have to make sure our legislators know that is an important program to continue funding fully. And I think there are such a high number of the clients in drug court that have that are qualify for Medicaid, that to lose that insurance coverage when you're under the care of the county, has a deleterious effect on their ability to make those transitions. But I did have another question, however. One of the more successful aspects to our overall drug treatment program is Phoenix House, which focuses on mothers who lose custody and go through the treatment and get out, and housing, a stable housing situation, a transitional housing situation is made available to them, and they're able to have custody restored. And it's a great success story, great motivation for women. But that problem of housing is just as important for the guys who go through, because if they go right back to the old environment, they start off 3 strikes against them almost immediately. How do we handle that? We seem to have a good program for women who are success stories through drug court. What about the guys that are facing that struggle?
It's a beautiful thought. Supporting parents, no matter their gender, is important. Phoenix House, I don't know its source of funding originally that created that built out that project and provides current funding. But we have several people that are in the drug court program now that are fathers that are regaining custody, have custody, and are struggling through the throes of parenthood. And housing is definitely a huge piece to that. One father is in the community house and he has some really rambunctious children, and that is a tall task and challenging. If it was in a more apartment-like, house-like, home-like setting, it would be more conducive for especially the children and him. That's certainly an area of advocacy and that a legislative body could provide, and we maybe need to be more aggressive in looking at that.
So a few weeks ago, I attended the quarterly panel meeting for the folks from various state agencies that oversee the expenditures of the Criminal Justice Treatment Act. So that's why I know about that particular fund. And Judge Basher represents Superior Court judges on that same panel. I represent the Washington State Association of Counties. One of the interesting discussions we had was the importance of that funding UAs. That UAs are really a pretty vital, important part of the treatment program. It provides that discipline, that regular, you never know for sure, and you better follow the rules. We worked long and hard to get CJTA funding available for UAs, because that's not necessarily medically necessary, but it certainly is treatment necessary. And I would imagine that would need to continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it's critical. UAs are absolutely critical to the accountability piece and helps people move along in the right direction.
And a few weeks ago, we had a discussion with the prosecutor about the post-Blake decision-making and how we're dealing with that. And there was some discussion about interest in having the district courts and municipal courts operate a drug court equivalent, assuming that a lot of the drug crimes now are at the gross misdemeanor stage rather than the felony stage, which is what kicks it into Superior Court. Are you working with your district court brethren in that transfer of knowledge and making sure that they have all the advantages of the experience of your program?
We are. I participated in a meeting with presiding judge in Bowdoin and Adam Pittan, our therapeutic courts manager, and they've continued to meet. And we've tentatively, we're planning to keep the same structure that's in place for those same clients. If it comes to be that the misdemeanor folks can participate in the drug court program using the existing structure. So yeah, that's definitely something that we're looking at. There's a lot of logistics to be worked out, but we think it's possible.
So here's one of the dilemmas that I see, and I don't have an answer for.
Yeah.
There's not an unlimited amount of funds. If we operate a district court level drug court, won't we have to take some of the funds from the Superior Court drug court program? Because monies are limited. I'm assuming the numbers of people that need the treatment are going to be relatively the same because it's the people who are apprehended and charged with crimes.
Yeah, I don't know if necessarily if it is taking one to and giving it to another, since there's the existing structure that can be leveraged to service both clientele. I don't know if that's necessarily true. There may be increased funding that would come through increased participants. But if you're using the same general structure, that's the Superior Court Drug Court team, I don't necessarily know if that's accurate. It may be, I don't know. We can talk further about that.
Let me
Thank you.
Thank you.
touch on a little different tact. I like hearing how it operates. I've gone over and watched you in action, and I thought it was incredible and did great. But what I need a little history on it just to be educated. What started it? Why did it start? What were we trying to fix? And is there data? Is there something to show me that what we were trying to fix has been fixed? Or if we would have gone, I don't even know when this started. If we would have gone the last decade without this, would people have found a way to fix themselves or not? I'm trying to measure how effective we are here, because if I'm spending taxpayers' money, I want to know they're getting something for it. And I think all of us in this room want to know that. And so I'm kind of looking for a little history and what we were trying to fix and if we were able to accomplish some of that.
And I think in 1993, I think that was the first drug court program that started in Washington, I think in King County. In 1999, I could be off on the date. In 1999, Cowlitz County started its drug court program under the direction of Judge Warning, who's present today. So as far as statistics, Adam will be presenting statistics about recidivism, about graduation rates, and the like. So we've employed the services of a PhD level professor at the University of Portland who's done studies. I think he's accomplished 2 or 3 reviews of our program and has significant data to support that. In fact, the drug court program does work. Recidivism drops significantly, and I could throw out a number, but it probably is not going to be right. But I share that same concern. If government is known for its great ability to be inefficient and maybe not spend dollars wisely, and you want a return on your investment, you need a return on your investment. I grew up in a household where my dad employed 200 people. Bottom line matters. I think Adam will address the specifics, but from my vantage point and what I've viewed from the reports by the University of Portland professor is that it does work. Lives are changed. People get off drugs. They stay off drugs. They commit less crime. They recidivate much less at a much less rate than somebody who goes untreated. And then the side benefits is the community strengthening. Relationships are rebuilt. Mothers and daughters see each other again and spend time together. So there's those intangible quality return on the investment. But there are hard numbers where dollars invested. I think the figure is for every dollar invested in drug court, and this is kind of one of those wonky numbers. For every dollar invested in drug court, you get a return of $2 to $3 of activities that the government doesn't have to pay for, that they haven't been rearrested, they haven't been reincarcerated, that they're again on the welfare rolls and things like that. And that's a squishy number. And I'm somewhat uncomfortable with that because it's hard to measure what doesn't exist or what didn't come to be.
Yeah. Another question for you, and it comes to mind because we had a great conversation with George this morning. How about programs before they get to the problem stage? George and I were talking about a program he was talking about a program they had in California, and I have a small house in Idaho where they have a program for teens and whatnot. Do those type of things, and we don't have a plethora. We don't have very many of that available in Washington State. So if we had those, I mean, is it worthwhile? Some money there? Does it save on the back end before they get to the point where you have to sit up there and babysit them?
Well, whenever I get a sliver, I have the option of leaving it in my finger or pulling it out. If I leave it in my finger, it's going to continue to pus and be aggravated and cause a problem. And it could lead to much worse problems. So it's like children, when if you can address their issues at their early ages, early stages, address their traumas, help them to live a healthy lifestyle, that those cures last a lifetime, so to speak. You invest in the child, it pays dividends over the decades. So yes, in theory, those type of programs, those investments in children once they become solidified in the child, will pay off for decades and are really important because we can bandage people up and get them on their way from drug court, and then they'll be productive and helpful. But there's a lot of years wasted where they could have, those items could have been prevented or hopefully ameliorated.
Yeah. So I always struggle a little bit that we don't seem to do a good job of maybe investing it at the younger level, and then we try to fix things as we've let them get out of control.
Yeah, and it's difficult too, because the whole issue of parental rights and how much do we want government intruding into parental rights and what a parent can and can't do with their child and what they deem appropriate. So there's a sensitivity to that. And I think that's one of the factors that helps prevent that from occurring.
Yeah. Although I think that, I know the program in Idaho is totally voluntary.
Oh.
No kid has to do it, but they can choose to do it. And I don't know if the program you talked about, George, was that the same type of way, but I think,
I don't think so, Commissioner.
yeah, okay. Go ahead, Arn.
A follow-up question. This is one I'd forgotten to ask. And that's, I presume that the demand for drug court from the street view is much larger than drug court can actually handle. And that always leads me to think about what are the discriminants between how someone can get onto drug court when you're competing against other people that want to go on drug court, and how does that play into equal treatment under the law? And I don't think there's an answer, but for me, it's a philosophical problem.
Our system has vests a lot of discretion in prosecutors, and they wield tremendous power. And one of the great powers that they wield is approving, because that approval has to come first from the prosecutor. If they don't say yay, then the person doesn't get a shot at drug court. So that prosecutorial discretion has to be wielded carefully and judiciously. And is there a perfect matrix to make that happen? Probably not. There's criteria, there's guidelines, there's historical data that I think informs that decision. But a lot of it sometimes, once those criteria have been viewed, sometimes it's just kind of a gut check. What do you think? So there's obviously concerns for equal application of the law, and we vest a lot of discretion in a lot of different people to do their very best, and hopefully that happens.
Okay.
That's not a very satisfying answer, is it?
No, but it's, I just wanted, I like I like us all to have some sense that the things are not easy. And that you may not get fair treatment. Someone out there may think, I want drug court, but I can't get to it. And so they give up or something. And I don't want them to think that it's aimed at them. It's
Right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, I appreciate that sensitivity, because I'm certain that many people have felt unfairly treated by the courts, by the prosecutor, by the police, by the counter service at McDonald's. I mean, it's a common problem where we feel unfairly treated.
And until we find out that we're not the special target of somebody, it's just the partial blindness of a system. Doesn't that lady have a blindfold on?
Okay.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be. Why don't we have Adam go over some of the financial stuff, and then Adam, why don't we do that? And then I'll open it up for public comment after that.
Yeah, so, yeah, commissioners. I'm gonna go over some of the data I collected, and actually I'm taking a different approach than in the past. We've had our researcher come in and present data that he's collected, and I'm happy to provide that. We have those reports.
Make sure the green light is on, middle button.
Oh, there, okay.
There we go. Perfect. Thank you.
So as I was saying that we have those reports and I'm happy to share them with you, but last summer we were talking about actual data from graduates and reaching out to them and speaking to them about their experience post drug report. So we put together a survey based off the questions that we talked about last year and put that out. And so that is what I'd like to go over here. So if we can get the next slide. And this one does address a little bit of history, so I'm glad that I provided that and I'm able to tell you. The first drug court was established in 1989 in Florida. So that was the first time that we had introduced this concept of drug court, and it was driven by the idea that if criminals are committing crimes because of their addiction, then treating their addiction should eliminate the criminal activity. So that was the idea that drove drug courts. I started drug courts there. Since 1989, there are more than 3,800 various therapeutic courts operating in the United States. When I say therapeutic courts, that's an encompassing term. So there's adult drug courts, there's mental health courts, veterans courts, DUI courts. There's all sorts of courts, family dependency, juvenile. So it really kind of wraps that all into that term. Our Cowlitz County Drug Court was established, I guess actually that was 1999. So coming up on our 20th anniversary year, and that was established as Judge Evans said by Judge Stephen. We currently operate 4 courts. We have an adult drug court, mental health court, family dependency court, which we call adult court, and a juvenile drug court, which we call safe court. And I'm actually going to focus a little bit more on adult drug court. That's what the survey was done, and also a little bit on mental health court, as they receive a little bit of funding from 1% of what we're discussing today. The current status of our drug court and mental health court, we currently, as of today, have 81 clients in the program. Pre-pandemic, we were at 104. And then with the Blake decision, at the time the Blake decision happened, we were at about 64, 65, I think. And that was because that year the pandemic had happened. Cases weren't moving through. I think we only opted in 10 people, but we graduated close to 40 that year. So we had people exiting the program. And then we dropped down into the mid-20s instantly after that decision. We worked with the prosecutor to be able to allow, there's Washington state standards, and it pretty much boils down to no sex offenses, current or history, or serious violent offenses in the program. So we looked at that and we looked at other charges that are committed because of a connection to substance use disorder. And we opened that up to allow more people the opportunity to do the program. So since then, we built back up to 91 clients, and we have 17 that have come out of the prosecutor that are inactive in the
Can I jump in when I get a question? I would echo my colleague, Commissioner Mortensen, that I actually, under this scenario, it means more to me because you're dealing with people that have actually, what I would say, inflicted some harm on others. My question comes in, is part of this process trying to restitute some of that harm? Yeah.
Absolutely. So part of what we do is when after they find them eligible, things that we look at is counter restitution. We have a soft cap of 2,500. If the restitution is higher than that, unless they can pay it back and get below that, they wouldn't be eligible for the program. I say soft cap, so it's a little bit above that. There's still that little room. So we have that. We speak with the victims. We tell them what the drug court program is, and answer questions for them, address their concerns, and make sure that they're not opposed to it. If they're opposed to it, then we have to go back to the prosecutor and discuss that forward from there to see which direction we want to go with it. So the victims do have a voice in the matter when somebody is treated for a court. And it is true. Prior to Blake, we had a lot of drug possession what we would call victimless crime, although I don't think in society, I don't think it's victimless, but there's not a direct victim tied to that. And now we have a lot more high risk, high needs people have victims tied to us, so we are addressing that.
Do you ever get any feedback from the victims that, man, we're glad you got this guy in here, or I mean, do you get some positive?
On
stuff from that?
occasion, we, as part of their graduation, they have to write a letter to their victim, which we then send on to them. So we at least give that feedback back to them that, they're graduating the program. This is what they've accomplished. So that, and to law enforcement understands. This arrest we made a couple of years ago, they're successful in further evidence now. So yeah, that's
Okay.
part of it. Occasionally we do, but it's not.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
I have a question on the numbers that you're using. It says 91 current clients. The 17 is not included in that 91.
No,
That number could go all the way up to 108 then.
yes. So that's what we're working with.
So, yeah.
So 91 are opted in the program, 17 that were in active screening. So doing the intake, we go over to someone in the jail or they're out of jail, we schedule that, do the intake, do the set of treatment assessments for them, contact victims, all of that before they're ready to opt into the program.
Thank you.
With the mental health court, we're up to 52 clients in the program. And we have 7 that have been found eligible for screening currently for the health court program. Best practice for drug courts says that caseload should be between 30 and 50. As you can see, we're past that on mental health court, being a little bit more selective. And we're approaching that for the drug court. And that's the max. It really doesn't recommend be at 50. It recommends that the caseload be. That's we're right there with those cases. Next. Currently, the 1/10 of 1% breakdown of what we're funding with that sales tax right now is we have 4 full-time case manager positions. There's 2 adult drug court case managers, 1 mental health court case manager, and we have 1 vacant case manager position. In 2019, we had one of our case managers resigned, and our numbers were kind of on a download trend at that time. And I didn't see the benefit, and I certainly want to be responsible with what had been given us. So I didn't see any reason to hire another case manager. Then the pandemic hit, and definitely that was not the route we wanted to go.
Adam, I want to interrupt you. When I speak, you can hear that reverberation. Your microphone needs to be a little bit closer to your mouth. so
Closer,
that-
okay.
Just pull it closer to you.
Okay, how's that?
Not so much in us in the room, but
Okay.
on Zoom, we have a little bit of
Okay.
trouble. Yeah.
Great, is that better?
That's,
Okay.
you hear it?
Yeah, I can. So we have that vacant position. That is something that we're exploring as to hiring that position so that we can get some of the burden off the managers. We're looking at how we could maybe share that between the courts and reduce that, how we could best utilize that position to allow more people into the program. We have a 0.675 office specialist who works 27 hours a week, and the 0.33 or 1/3 court case manager is funded. So that's a third of that position is funded with the 1/10 of 1% sales tax. The other 2/3 is funded by the juvenile drug court tax that we have, or drug court grant that we have, which is not part of this. So I have this. So that creates 1 full-time position, and that case manager oversees the family dependency court and juvenile drug court programs as a case manager for them. We also fund incentives for clients, monitoring tools such as scram alcohol monitoring bracelets, our drug court case management system where we keep all of our data and track notes and court dates and all of that. Community service that's done. And then we're able to help claims on the housing assistance also through this just for a brief period of time so that they can go out and start with their job. Next.
Before you go to the next one.
Yeah.
There's a hand up. I don't know how you want to handle it.
Oh, sorry. As you say that, I did print all this up for you guys as well.
You brought us something special?
Yes.
Oh, you
Thank
look
you.
very.
Okay. but
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do the slideshow here, but in there is also our
I'd like to open
statistics.
it to the public after he gets through his.
The only reason I mentioned, because there is timely comment on slides and it may be more efficient, but that's your call. I just in case you hadn't noticed.
Yeah, so the statistics we looked at, we had 49 responses. We looked at areas such as employment, government assistance, education, housing, current relationships, their family status, recovery and how that's impacted others, and recidivism, kind of the areas we looked at. Next. On this slide, you can see that of the respondents, 82% are currently employed, 18% are unemployed. Of course, that doesn't mean that they're doing bad. There could be other reasons. They could be going to school. We haven't really broke that down as to why. They could be stay at home with their children while a significant other works. So there are other reasons why they may be unemployed, but a large percentage of our graduates show that they are employed. And I included some quotes from our surveys that we had in there. So I want to kind of include those as I go through it. So this quote was, "I was homeless, looking for enough dope to die. Since drug court, I have a family who loves and respects me. I'm a construction foreman / superintendent entrusted with running $1 million projects. I don't seek death anymore. I seek solutions." Next. Use of government assistance. So this was one that Commissioner Mortensen, you asked specifically about. So we put it into the survey. You can see that 59% of respondents say that they decreased their use of government assistance. 31% say they did not change. And so whether they were receiving them before or not is unclear, but they didn't have any change since they've been in the program. And 10% showed that they did increase use. So I wanted to break that down and look at how many of the respondents are receiving no government assistance. And that's what that next one is. The 63% reported that they are currently not receiving any government assistance at all. Next. Education. 51% improved their education since joining drug court. 49% said there's no change to their education since joining drug court. Of course, we have people opt into drug court at all different education levels, so they could have already had college degrees or their GED. If somebody is in the program and they do not have a high school diploma or a GED, we work with them and highly encourage them to get that. It's not a 100% requirement, but we do work with them to be working towards that as a requirement to leave the program. I included this here to show that we have many degrees of people that go on, improve their education, improve their lives. I've earned my bachelor's degree in science of counseling and currently earning my master's degree in clinical mental health. I'm employed full-time for Columbia Wellness as a clinical director of SUD. Next. Housing improved. 94% report that since coming into drug court, they have improved their housing situation. Now, when you look at it, 2% no change, 2% not improved, those are kind of similar there. That's not saying that they were in a worse situation when they opted in. Some people opt into the program, so it's, you'd really have to break those down to see what it is, but we can see the vast majority of people have improved their situation. Right here, one of our graduates, my biggest success has been buying a house. And several people listed that as a big success. Strengthening families. 100. Yeah.
Quick question, Adam. What are the specs on the universe? Is this over 1 year, 5 years?
This is over, we surveyed every graduate we could get it to. So we have people that are more recent graduates. We have people that have been, I think the longest is 18 years that this got into the hands to. So it's a wide swath.
Do you have enough? Do you have enough numbers to be able to parse that into 5 years, 5 years, 5 years? So
I mean, we had a few more responses after we put this together. I think we have something like 51 responses. I don't know.
that doesn't sound like you have enough to.
We don't have we have a good amount accumulative, but if we started breaking it down into years, I don't know what that would look like. It's something we could play with, but I'm not sure what it would look like.
you really don't have enough numbers, but I assume you're going to continue this, this kind of analysis, which
Yeah, we're hoping
looks quite
to.
good. And in time, you will have a.
That's my hope.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
yes.
Yeah.
Strengthening families, 100% of the respondents reported that they have rebuilt damaged relationships with family and friends due to their drug court and their recovery. This quote here, "My family trusts me and I know I'm reliable now. Everything in my life has improved since opting into drug court. It changed my life when nothing else could." Next slide. Regain custody of children. Something to look at here is this is not the entire 49 people. Only 19 people fell into this category. So we're only looking at a subset of people here. Of the people that this was relevant to, 68% report that they've regained custody of their children due to drug court. 32% report that they did not regain custody. So that's 6 people. The quote I have here, I think is good because it shows that not regaining custody does not necessarily mean they're not in their children's lives. So I have my family back and they have me. I did not get custody of my kids back, but I get to be in their lives and they are allowed to be in mine. I can be present for my family when they need me. Next slide. Relapse. So this is something that research, when you do have a researcher come in and look at where he can look, you can't really get this information. So this was what I was really excited to look at here. Since graduation, 71% report that they have had no relapse since graduation. 29% report that they did experience a relapse. So that's 14 of the respondents report that they did experience a relapse. The quote I have here, "Drug court saved my life. I'm forever grateful for this program. I know I wouldn't be alive without this program." Now, this is one of the questions that we went in a little deeper and we were able to break it down a little bit. So on the next slide, you can see regained recovery. So we asked after if they've had a relapse, we asked if they were able to regain recovery. So of those 14 people that reported that since leaving the program, they did have a relapse, 86% or 12 of them have regained recovery, and only 14%, which is 2 clients, report that they're still struggling with their substance use disorder and have not gone back into recovery. 100% of those who regained recovery reported it was due to their experience in drug court that allowed them to come back into recovery. The quote here, "I did not want to relapse. Unfortunately, relapse is a part of my story, but I was given the tools and the choice to stop using and find a new way of life. I relapsed for about 6 months, struggled a little bit and got back on track." Next slide.
Do you know how they got back on track?
Yes, the community that they built up. I know this individual specifically reached out to our office and one of our case managers helped him back in, to get back involved. There's always shame involved. Somebody relapsed, they've been really strong in recovery and they relapse. There's a lot of shame and guilt there. So it's hard to come back because of that. So bringing the community back to this individual to say, it's okay. You can come back. And so I think that that's a big part of what helped gain relapse. I do know that this individual and there is a larger, in the packet I gave you, there's all of the written responses that people had and testimonies. This is only a portion of that. So he does go into greater detail about
Good,
it.
I appreciate that. And that goes back to the question I asked Judge Evans,
Mhm.
can someone from the public come back in? Since
Yes.
he was a graduate, he is a member of the public and
Yes, we absolutely, it's not uncommon to be contacted by graduates that are struggling. Maybe they haven't relapsed, but they're struggling. We will take a minute and listen to them and help them and set them up with services if we can, if there's anything we can do. So I feel like once you're a graduate, you're always a drug court participant, and I would not want to close that door to be able to help them to find resources to help themselves. This leads me to one of my favorite kind of quotes or discoveries with recovery. And it's research that's done. Maybe you've heard of Rat City research where they gave rats drugs and found that if they kept them in solitary, they would walk over an electrified field to get to that water that was laced with the drugs. But when you put them into Rat City with rat activities and fun and lots of other rats to interact with, they rarely went to the drug-infused water. They went to the regular water. And from that is kind of the idea that the opposite of addiction is not sobriety, it's community. So that really is what we try to build up is community. We're working right now to try to build up peer mentoring. We're working as clients come in, if we recognize a need, we'll set them up with people in the program that are doing well. Candace is really kind of focusing on that, one of my case managers, setting up people with other people that are doing well in the program or even graduates, and try to build up that community for people. 96% of the respondents, I covered that, said that they, help others and gain recovery. So 96% of respondents report that they've helped other people not involved with a therapeutic court to get into recovery. So we asked this question because we wanted to see what is the impact for somebody that goes through drug court, gets into recovery, are they helping other people? And 96%, 47 people said that they have helped other people into recovery. This quote here, I currently work at the community house, helping people get their lives back. I love giving back and teaching those that life is so much more than drugs and alcohol. Next, recidivism rates. From what people reported, we asked if they have been convicted of a new misdemeanor or if they've been convicted of a new felony. 88% reported no new misdemeanor convictions. So 12% had received a new misdemeanor conviction. Felony level, 90% reported no new felony convictions. So 10% had received a new felony conviction. The quote I have here, I want to illustrate that because they received a conviction does not mean that they have completely slid back into addiction, into a criminal lifestyle. This quote from one of our graduates, I did get in trouble for driving illegally again, but other than that, I don't have to look over my shoulder worried because I'm on warrant status. I walk happily and freely, and that right there makes me happy daily. So this is an individual, he did, made a bad choice, got caught for that, got a misdemeanor, but is still in recovery and is dealing with that charge clean and sober and taking care of it.
Yeah, a thing for me always is we should not hurt other people. So I'm assuming these transgressions are not beating somebody over the head or doing something horrible.
I hope not. I didn't look at what they were. We only asked if they had received another felony. So I would assume not. On paper, we don't allow people with violent histories into our program. We would expect that once they're clean and sober, that certainly wouldn't be the case. So, or severe violent history.
When there's the intangible of incivility that you just make other people's life bad just because you like to do that.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that our program aims to correct. And I think you'll see as you read those testimonies, people will talk about their life prior. They didn't care. They didn't care about other people. And going through drug court gave them the stability to be able to work on their recovery and then work on their lives and how they treat other people. The quote I have on here, I read the quote, sorry, my mind's just jumping right back. Then testimony. So I've included some testimonies here. Just some of the things. Everyone is proud of my recovery. They got their mom, daughter, sister back. I'm a fantastic mother again. I'm employable and employers are proud to have me on their team. I'm now a productive, contributing member of society today. Drug court saved my life. I am forever grateful for this program. I know I wouldn't be alive without this program. I have a family again. It has brought me back into my kids' and grandkids' life. It helped me learn coping skills, learn to rely on myself more than other people, develop self-confidence and self-worth, the value of transparency, the value of mental health care, how to not take things personally. And I would literally be dead if it wasn't for drug court. Now I am able to get a great job. So we have a lot more people here that can speak up if they want to about that. So I don't want to read all of the testimonies. I provided them for you. I really, really hope that you'll take the time to look through those. I think there's some really powerful messages there.
Yeah.
So in closing, I thank you for your continued commitment to the therapeutic court programs of Cowlitz County. And I have one last quote. Thank you for saving my life over and over 100 times. I will never forget it. Thank you.
Adam, so many times we ask for, a lot of times when I've sit on that side and I'll sit on this side, you ask for data. We want to see, do you have data that helps us understand that it works? And so I applaud you for doing this.
Thank you.
And I hope you continue, because over time, that data is going to be stronger and mean more. And I think sometimes people are reluctant to grab data because it doesn't show what they want it to show. Well, what that means to me is maybe we need to change the approach. It doesn't always mean that we need to throw it out. It means we need to look at it different. So I don't, people get afraid of data, and I don't think they should be. And so I applaud you for doing that. Now, I
Thank you,
have
Commissioner.
one person that's had their hand up. They may have a question for you. So I'm going to,
If I could interfere on
ahead.
that same. I am bothered about one thing, which is you're going to be graduating on average, maybe 80 people a year.
No, it's lower than that. It's probably about 30. When
Oh, only about 30. So we didn't see the statistics of the dropouts.
I didn't include that in that, I mean, this was focused on the recovery. I can pull that. We have a graduation rate, I think, of about 56%.
Okay, I'll go sort of to my point.
Yeah.
It's difficult to keep track of people over time. If that is something you can put in the agreement that says you'll stay in touch for 5 years or something like that. And you can't enforce it, but you
Right.
can let them know that you'd really like to stay involved.
We can explore that. Yeah. I mean, and we can look at ways that upon exiting from drug court, that we ensure that we have good contact information, collection of email addresses to better be able to reach out to people. So yeah, we certainly
If you
can.
get 25%, I consider that a success.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And as far as collecting data, one of the best practices, which we try to uphold the best that we can, the best practices for therapeutic courts, is constantly receiving data and feedback to improve your programs. I'm not afraid of data. I have high confidence that our programs work. And in areas, if data showed that they didn't, then that is something we're not afraid to look at and adjust.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll gonna open up for public comment. It may be questions for some of you guys, if that's okay. We'll see what comes on. But
Yeah.
Tricia, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Adam. Sorry, I'm on vacation. I need to take myself off. If you can hear me, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so your slide that you had with the success rate of no relapse, do we know, like, are you tracking over, because you said some of these people have been in recovery for 10 years. I'm interested in the data from 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5, and then after 5 years, you know, a lot of times recovery sticks. So then 5 to 10 years. So do you happen to have it broken down by that?
We do not have it broken down. We have done research that's done by a researcher, usually looks at the 3 years, a 3-year time span. So anyone who graduated within a 3-year span. And that usually, the times we've done it runs about 85% have not committed a new crime within 3 years of graduating. But that's within, I mean, that could be a lower amount to all the way up to 3 years. This is a cumulative, all of it. It's not broken down, but as Commissioner Mortensen suggested, is taking a look at that. So as we collect data, that is definitely something that we could break down. We asked how much clean time people have. So we have that, but we tried to form that into data points, and it really just looked messy. It's a span. So, but that is something that we have, and we could possibly try to break that down more as we collect more data.
Okay, thank you. My next question is, and I came on late to this meeting, so you may have already, or someone else may have already answered this, like Judge Evans, but is there a certain organization that holds the drug court contract so that they're the ones that specifically provide either the inpatient or the intensive outpatient treatment?
No, we work with specific programs with our various courts. And we try to keep our clients in within there just for ease of the team and communication. So for drug court, we use Awakenings Family Health Center, the Tribe, and Core. For mental health court, we open that up a lot more because people are comfortable with certain counselors. We want to make sure that they stay with people that they're comfortable with and not move them around for their mental health treatment. So we work with, I think, almost every agency in the area with our various courts.
Okay, and then my last question is, within those different agencies, are you tracking the success rate? So like, do people have more success of recovery with Awakenings compared to the Tribe or Core? That would be very interesting data, because that tells you which program, to me, is providing the most and best intensive treatment to make these people successful citizens of the community.
That's a good question. It's not something that we track specifically what treatment agency they were at. It might be interesting to look at. We do have expectations of treatment agencies that they uphold. We work with them to ensure that there is a continuity of treatment between the agencies for drug court clients. We work with the agencies that we feel work best with the clients, and that we see results from. I could think about how we might be able to do that, but it is an interesting thought. It's something I'll put some thought into.
I think that would be interesting, especially since each organization, if they do provide the mental health treatment as well, it depends on the level of counselor who is providing that mental health treatment.
Yes.
Some will have it done by a bachelor level. Some will have it done by a master level, like the Tribe was all master level providers. So again, I think that also should be looked at. So
Yes,
thank you.
Thank
Mhm.
you.
Okay, thank you. We'll let you go back and I'll open it up to public comment if
Okay.
they want to come up and comment. Yeah. Yeah, come on up.
One treatment place is gonna be.
We're gonna need you up at the microphone because we're on, okay?
I'm Bo. I'm a grateful recovering addict, drug court graduate. I don't think any one treatment place is gonna be the answer, or every person's different. You know, there's no such thing as normal. Normal is a contradiction in terms. So what's right for this group of people isn't gonna be right for that group of people. And what's right for me isn't gonna be right for him or her necessarily. So I think that question is kind of not a very good question. Because everybody's different, unique and individual in their own way. So I like, this treatment place is gonna work for those guys, but it's not gonna work for these guys. Because it's a different base of things, you know what I mean? Like, you might need to move around. You might need to go to a different place with a different set of people, because you're not all gonna interact with the same. Not everybody's gonna get along the same.
Yeah, I think in defense of the question, sometimes you take the data to find out if your assumption or premise is accurate.
Well, that's cool,
Correct.
but I also get
Representative.
blueprints that work for welding. The engineer says this is gonna work, but it doesn't when you put it together.
Oh, yeah, this is
So-
just collecting of the data. There is no implication of
Okay.
any action thereof.
And I think,
Come on up.
and I think one of the things we have to remember with a sample of 49, that's still a little on the small side statistically to make it. If you
It's a
had
lot on the
200 or
small side,
250, you'd be able to recognize those differences.
Yeah.
Much easier. But I'm glad we're making the effort to do it this way. So
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Steve Warning. I was a Superior Court judge for almost 24 years. Best thing I ever did was start this program. I mean, hands down, nothing else comes close. And I feel that very strongly. Drug courts have been studied since their inception. You go look on the National Association of Drug Court Professionals, National Drug Court Institute, there's a ton of studies on there. And by every metric that the social scientists have been able to come up with, this is not only an effective program, but the best of the programs. Other programs that have been studied that people support do well, don't do as well as drug courts. I looked at one this morning. It was 281 pages. I only read the executive summary. Recidivism, difference between people who went through the program and those who didn't. And this is just people who went through the program, not graduates. But even counting people who flunked out, recidivism's down about 20%. I have seen a number of different results for, does drug court save money? The, I guess, least effective, if you will. So for every dollar spent, you save the county, local government, local citizens save $2. Highest one was $16 and something. The biggest study I've ever seen, it was over $6. There's another one about that size. It said it was about $10. So it's been studied well. One of the things that we did early on that in retrospect was very bright was we said, we're going to track the numbers. We're going to review our own program and not just talk about, do we feel like we're doing a good job? So Nick, what's his last name? McCree, Portland State has come in several times. The Cowlitz County Drug Court, based on his research, is the apotheosis of a drug court. I mean, we are at the very head of the class in terms of all those numbers that he could track for us. And it's, obviously it's a smaller sample than nationwide studies. But based on that, we've done extremely well. And that's with changes in administrative staff, changes in judges, what we started to do, what we tried to do, it continues to work well. Commissioner Mortensen, you asked a question earlier about making changes to the program. And having been able to watch it for a long time, I was only the drug court judge for about 5 years, but I've been filling in for a long time. And one of the big changes that really struck me was when we first started the program, the rule was if you used, you went to jail. And that was a simple way, I think, to sell it to the community. And I believe that was the thing to do. We found out based on the studies and based on the research, you know what? It's not. You give somebody 8 hours of community service, you're saving the cost of a bed in the jail for the night. They're given back to the community, and it's actually more effective than putting them in jail. So based on the ongoing research on drug court, that's one big change. There have been others too that have been made, but I think the program has been very responsive to the research as well. I think Judge Evans, Judge Basher are absolutely correct. It's your job to make the decisions on the finances, and the judicial branch needs to stay out of that. Having said that, I'm not a judge anymore. So I think I can speak to that a little bit because I was also very involved. The mental health tax, when we went to the legislature with that, I think it was about 2005. And our drug court was either the third or fourth in the state, but a lot came on immediately thereafter. And almost everybody started their drug court with federal grant money, and we did. And that federal grant money was for a limited period of time. I think ours was about 3 years, and then everybody's scrambling. So when we went to the legislature and we're talking about ways to keep these programs going, the drug court was the centerpiece of the discussion about that mental health tax. That was what everybody wanted to fund. That was the example that was being used for why this local option tax would make sense. So it was at its inception. It's been tweaked some since. I was involved in a lot of that too at the legislature. But it has always been a tax that had drug court and similar programs front and center. So I would strongly urge you to maintain the mental health tax and to fund this program with it, because that was the plan from the very beginning. The only other thing I'd want to do is toss out one quick anecdote, because they're always fun. As I said, I still get to handle drug court from time to time, and I never turn it down if I get that chance. I happened to do drug court last Tuesday because Judge Evans wasn't here. There were 3 gentlemen there who I think, I knew well, had known for a long time. I think they could probably charitably be described as chuckleheads. All three of them were about 1.5 years, 2 years clean, on the verge of graduating, working, had their families back, everything you'd want to hear. And otherwise, these are people I'm quite sure, because that had been their pattern up to now, would be either in the county jail or in prison, and taking up bed space there. The other gentleman that I met for the first time, he had just joined the program in, I think it was his first or second week. He overdosed twice, died once, and was obviously scared to death. And where he came to try and address that was a courtroom, which, strikes me again. It was just extraordinary. This is where somebody comes for help, given what we normally have to do when people come in those kind of situations. I, with a little bit of trepidation today, asked Judge Evans, is he still alive? The answer was yes, thank God. Is he still in the program? Yeah. So I gave up predicting who is and isn't going to make it a long, long time ago. But every day, in town, because I know where a lot of them work, I see people that have been through that program who were, tax-paying citizens. So I hope that you recognize just how important the program is, how successful it is. And I would urge you to continue to fund it with those mental health tax funds. Thank you very much.
Judge Warning, welcome back. It's good to see you. One of the observations I've had in watching drug court over the years is the very obvious connection between the judges and the participants. I hear that over and over again. It's different from if you're appearing for a criminal case. And I think one of the important things about the longevity of the Cowlitz County drug courts is that there is a continuing introspection, I think, to make sure that the judges are the right fit. And I think experience to the program is transformative for the judges as well as it is for the participants. So yeah. I think that's to the credit of the program that you helped put together, that you continue to do that introspection, make sure the fit is correct, because I see an awful lot of good going on.
I thought I knew a lot about addiction when we started the program. I didn't know anything about addiction. I knew next to nothing about it. One of the hardest things to do was, I think, 2005, when I gave up the program to another judge, but that's also one of the best things we did. This is just a regular part of the judge's rotation. It's not anybody's special bailiwick. We're all involved. And that's usually the one thing that people are lined up to take over, as opposed to the family law docket or something like that. So thank you much.
Thank you.
We had asked 3 graduates if they would mind sharing officially, so I'd like to invite them up now.
Sure.
Hello, commissioners. How are you? I know a few of you, not all of you. Hello, Arn.
Hi.
Dennis. My name is Deborah Nelson, for the record. I'm a drug court graduate. My sobriety date is 9/30/2015. I'd like to talk to you for a second about what drug court gave me. Many of the people that are behind us, are behind me and in front of you, are drug court graduates as well. A lot of them are my friends. A lot of them are people that I participated in active addiction with. Almost every single one of them are people that I participate in recovery with. Those are your constituents. Arn, you throw out a number of 140,000 people that would be paying for this tax. I would like to
114.
114, sorry. So my number will be off because my calculator, I turned off my phone in case my kids called. 1 in 3 people are affected by addiction in one way or another, whether it's themselves or somebody that they love or are close to. So I would guarantee, I would assume that 1 in 3 of those people would willingly reach into their pockets for a chance for themselves or someone they love to have a chance. Nobody wakes up on a Tuesday and says, you know, my family loves me. I have self-confidence. Things are really stable. I have a low ACEs score or adverse childhood experiences. Today is a great day. It's beautiful and sunny outside. I think I'm going to go shoot heroin. I mean, at least that wasn't my experience. If anybody behind me, that was your story, please raise your hand. Perfect. That's what I thought. Today, I work at the emergency support shelter. I supervise the non-intimate partner programs. So I supervise the sexual assault program as well as the crime victim advocacy program. For once, our hearts are aligned. I don't believe when people hurt people that should be okay. Big part of my job is ensuring that when people are hurt, that they get the resources that they need across the board. A lot of times, people who are in active substance abuse have experienced trauma and a lack of coping skills or resources to address that trauma. Add substances, shake well, and you have an addict. I'm not going to go into the boring parts of my story, but I will tell you this. By 2015, I had already been introduced to 12-step programs, and I had left. One of the great things about 12-step programs is that you get to take yourself there, and you also get to walk out when you're ready. I needed that extra bolt of accountability. I needed somebody to tell me that I had to be there. I had lost all self-respect. I had lost my self-worth. I had given up my children, willfully handed them to my parents because I didn't want CPS to tell me that I had to get clean. So I handed my children to my parents and continued on my active addiction, living homeless, committing crimes on a daily basis, and participating in things that we don't discuss in mixed company. I got arrested like everybody else. I'm not super proud of what I got arrested for, not because it's embarrassing, but because it is embarrassing. You see, in the drug world and even in recovery, there's a false pride and strange behaviors. I got arrested with less than $10 worth of drugs in my bra. It's kind of embarrassing that it was something so trivial. They let me out on personal recognizance and I cried. I really wanted to sit in jail because I really wanted somebody to make me stay clean. I knew that I wouldn't unless somebody made me. I begged and pleaded to get into drug court. They told me it was ridiculous. Why are you going to try and get into drug court? You're going to serve 10 days and be done. But I knew what I needed. I got into treatment on September 30th of 2015, and I was able to opt into drug court and fill out all my paperwork while I was in treatment and opt in November. Due to circumstances outside of my control, two of my children were returned to me in December of 2015. I had less than 90 days clean and lived in the community house. Less than 6 months later, my significant other also had his 2 children returned to him. Yes, 4 children. Junkie whore, mother of 4, 6 months. It was a whirlwind, okay? Drug court held my hand. If it wasn't for the community and the community and the support and the accountability that I was given through drug court, I don't know where I would have been in those first few months. I remember vividly another drug court graduate. She was working at the Chinese Village and she had given me her car and I was in a really bad place. And it was right before my kids came home and she made me promise that I wasn't going to use as long as I had her car. And so I had developed this plan that I was going to drive around the Highlands until I could find dope and I was going to get the dope and then I was going to hold on to it and then drop her car back off so that I could get loaded without having her car. So therefore I wouldn't be breaking my promise. It didn't work out. I didn't get loaded, but I stayed clean. She's still one of my very best friends. I sat with her when her husband passed away. We cried together over a friend of ours who was a drug court graduate who relapsed and passed away. We don't all make it out to the other side. My story has so many more pieces than that. I graduated high school barely, not because I'm not bright, but because I didn't really like to go. I was very busy, shall you say. Since I graduated drug court in 2017, I have completed my associate's degree in organizational development, my bachelor's degree in human development, and I am now on a full ride grant to the University of Washington for a master's degree in social work. Thank you. Because my higher power has a sense of humor, my first day of in-person school is September 30th of this year. That's also my daughter's birthday. She'll be 2. So, oh, and I have a foster child now because I went from being somebody that ran from CPS to somebody that CPS places children with. The things that drug court offers is the extra bolt of accountability and community that a lot of people don't have just by participating in a 12-step program. 12-step is phenomenal and a critical and integral part of my life. But for many people who suffer from anxiety, fear, insecurity, maybe they don't have a connection to people in this community. And albeit, some people don't even know about it. Some people think AA is only for old men. No offense, gentlemen. They don't.
Who's she talking to?
That guy.
I'm the youngest one here. I have backup.
But oftentimes they walk into or they think of what they see on television and say, that's not for me. I don't fit there, or I'm not an alcoholic, and they don't know. So if nothing, drug court offers community, connection, and resources that gives them the information that they need so that they have a choice. Because an uninformed person has no choice. I understand. Bottom dollars are important. I have 6 kids in my house. Listen, inflation has hit everybody hard. Try and feed 5 teenagers, okay? Bottom lines are really important. At the end of the day, it's about lives affected. I heard that someone had spoken and said drug courts only affected a handful of people. My life, my 6 children's lives, my husband's life, my brother's lives, my parents' lives. In the 5 years that I've been working at the emergency support shelter, I have supported 585 individual clients through their crime process. The lives are untold. We shape your community. We're everywhere. Thank you for continuing to support the people that are thriving in your community because of drug court.
Thank you. Question?
No, I don't have a question. I have a comment.
Okay.
It's probably not going to be the most popular comment of the day, since we just had the most popular comment of the day. Trying to look at trying to look at the system in a holistic way is actually far more complicated. If we don't care about many elements, we would just stand up and jump up and down and say, we ought to fund drug court across the United States, regardless of the cost. However, we do have an issue that society already spends, with most people that are in drug court already spent for K through 12 about $250,000 on each of them. And
Sorry, can you say that part again? I don't understand what you're saying.
I'm assuming most people are going through the public education system, but even if they're not, if you use 2022 data, you end up estimating that the society has paid about $250,000 to put the people through, put them through K through 12. The thing I'm trying to paint is that our system fails early. Drug court's the end of the line. And very often that's the least effective way of making a change. I Don't interpret my statement as saying I'm against drug court or anything like that. I'm saying I want your help to solve the more fundamental problem, which is broken family. We've made a lot of effort to try and train people how to behave. And I'm like, no, it's a lot simpler than that. Don't hurt other people.
Oh,
And so as we're here trying to fund drug court, I want somebody to say, we are the cause, we, the government, cause a lot of issues. And as Adam nods, he understands that. There's nothing we can do about that. There's nothing I can do to change the legislature. The drug laws are stupid. The draft laws are stupid. It's stupid all over the place. But we're here today with drug court. I just don't want people to think that this is the only thing that if you fix this, you fixed everything. If you fix this, you've actually just put someone up that shouldn't have been down in the first place.
no, and I would like to respond to that by saying fixing and maintaining drug court doesn't change the cause of why people choose to use in the first place. I mean, you want to get down and dirty and really talk about numbers and ACEs scores, like we can do that on our time. I'm here for that. And these people probably don't want to hear it.
Yeah,
But-
don't talk to me about ACEs because everybody has their particular ACEs. I grew up in much more Spartan situation than most anyone here. And as you notice, I've had a speech problem, which is actually not bad right now. But when I was your age, communication was a BFD, pardon my French. So I'm not going to hide anything like that. I'm just don't want us to hide from anything. Just lay out all the data so we can make a judicious assessment of what our next step is. That's all I ever ask.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
time.
Good afternoon. I love these. My life goal is never to be addicted to drugs.
Oh, move
bit
it
closer
right
with the
close to your
Closer.
lips. Yeah,
Good pull.
Closer it is.
there you go.
Can you hear me
Thank you.
now?
Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So my life goal is never to be addicted to drugs. Who in their right mind would ever want that? But when I was diagnosed with aplastic anemia when I was 13, I was introduced to a morphine drip, which I hated until I didn't. And at 14, I was addicted and I didn't even know it. After a year in the hospital, I was released and given an ongoing prescription of Oxycontin. I still didn't even know I was addicted until the doctors cut me off. And at this time, I was almost 16. This is when drug lifestyle kicked into full gear. My life revolved around getting drugs, selling pills so I could stay high, which quickly escalated and led me into drop out of high school and landed me in my first couple of felonies as an early adult. Getting into trouble didn't stop me. Going to jail didn't stop me. Becoming inmate 307, 345 didn't stop me. From 18 to 24, I was in and out of custody. I was out committing felonies on a daily basis, and then I would get caught up and back to jail I went. I did absolutely nothing but cost taxpayers money. I was a hopeless junkie who knew his life was full of meaningless and empty promises. Everything changed when I entered into drug court on my last felony charge. I will always remember that opt-in day. Judge Warning back here called me up to the podium and he asked me in front of a courtroom full of other addicts and said, I want you to keep a close eye on this guy from a long distance. He knew I was a menace. He knew my chances were slim, especially since I'm pretty sure he was the one that like literally sentenced me to all my other felony charges. But drug court gave me another chance. So that day I decided to give drug court a real attempt, and I'm not going to stand here or sit here and lie to you. I literally got clean out of spite. I wanted to prove Judge Warning wrong. I wanted him to eat his words. And I won. My clean date is 1/3/2010. So I have 13 years clean, and I have accomplished a task that at one point I thought was impossible. I have been on clean off of drugs longer than I ever spent using them. I got my AA, specializing in substance use counseling, which I've been providing for this community for the last 10 years. I completed my bachelor's in human development. And 2021, I completed my master's in social work from Arizona State University. I am duly credentialed and I provide mental health services and SED services to this community. I married my best friend and immediately became the stepfather of my 2 daughters, and then became a father of my own 2. None of them have ever seen me under the influence. I am a productive member of society who has given my life back to this community. I help the ones who have been discarded, like Judge Evans said, the lepers. Losing this money will be a tremendous detriment to our community. Court intervention is a key component to long-term sobriety, especially a program like drug court that sees you as a human being and takes a holistic approach to serving their participants. Adam's presentation provides statistics earlier on the positive outcomes of drug court. And with that in itself, I don't believe we should have even needed to continue. But if statistics are not something that move you one way or the other, how about facts? I'm a fact. I would either be in prison, still using, or dead if it wasn't for this program. So I would like all the drug court grads and current participants to please stand up. More. The people behind me are miracles. Gotta sit down. Please stand up though, in the back. I can see you from the screen. So everybody behind me is a miracle, and it shows that drug court is successful and it needs to be continued to be funded. How about all the people that have been positively impacted by someone who has completed or actively participating in drug court? Any family members, children, friends, please stand up. Now, please stand with us if you're in support of continuing this amazing program. And I have one more question. For those of you that are still sitting, what are you doing to help this many people in our community? Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Melinda Kahn, for the record. I guess I'm the more seasoned graduate. I prefer seasoned as opposed to old. Before I read what I've prepared, there was one thing I wanted to respond to that was asked if there was any additions to drug court. I believe an alumni group would help continue the success of the participants. When I first was in there, there was an alumni group and I'm not sure what happened to it. So I'm gonna try and stick to the facts.
Make sure you speak
Okay.
closely. Thank
I'm
you.
gonna try and stick to the facts. So I grew up in a family with generations of addiction. I guess you would say I was a child born without a choice until I made a choice. I chose to use drugs and that's when the choices stopped. Using was a need like breathing air. I will spare you the dark details, but in the end, I was below the animal level because animals care for their young, and I couldn't even care for my 5-year-old son. On November 14th, 2004, I made a statement that I believe changed my life. I said, God, if I had 4 days where I could do nothing but eat and sleep, I could quit using. Now I believe that a power greater than myself was listening. 2 hours later, I was arrested for 2 felonies and 3 misdemeanors, all possessions. After what totaled 4 days in jail, exactly what I asked for, I opted into the Cowlitz County Drug Court program. That day was February 16th, 2005. I will never forget it because I've been clean ever since. I will be honest because I work an honest program. When I first entered drug court, I was not brimming with honesty, acceptance, or willingness to change. The structure of drug court was something that I had never known. It had been so long since I was accountable for anything. Drug court definitely held me accountable. Though minor, I had 2 sanctions during my time in the program. As I spent time in groups, meetings, and participated in other program requirements, something changed in me. I had a choice. I had life. I was able to be a daughter, a friend, and a mother to my son. The program that I resisted at first taught me how to be responsible, and I will be forever grateful. While in drug court, I accomplished many things. I graduated college for massage therapy in 2005. I gave birth to my youngest son in May of 2006, my miracle, because he has never had to see his mother under the influence. Not to discount those accomplishments, but drug court also helped me with something I never thought would be possible. It helped me find myself, my worth, and most of all, it helped my parents get clean too. At the age of 52, my mother got clean 6 days prior to me to support my efforts, and is still clean today. My father, though it wasn't until March of 2008, at the age of 59, chose to change his life as a result of my example. So not only did my participation in drug court break the generational cycle of addiction for my children, who, by the way, are now 23 and 17, with them not knowing their mother in addiction, but their grandparents as well. October 16th of 2006, in this very room, I graduated drug court. It was bittersweet. Though I was proud of all I had accomplished and glad to have my charges dismissed, I was sad because I was leaving something that had been a part of my life for 20 months. Now looking back, even though I was no longer in drug court, it was and always will be a part of me. I apply the concepts I gained daily: structure, routine, consistency, and most of all, accountability. Since graduating, my life has only gotten better. I graduated from LCC in 2016 with my associate's degree and worked in the chemical dependency field for approximately 5 years. Today, with over 18 years clean, I am employed at Cowlitz Family Health Center in a management position. I own my own home. I've been in a healthy relationship for the past 14 years with my husband, Jeff, who's also in recovery. I'm an active part of the Narcotics Anonymous community. I am a sponsor or mentor to many women. And with their permission, some that are currently in drug court and are here today as I am to prove the program works. I can never thank drug court enough because of that program, I am truly living my best life. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to comment? You're free to. Yeah.
For the record, my name is Richard Barker. I too am a drug court graduate. I graduated drug court in October of 2013. You know, I come from a long line of addicts and criminals. I received my first felony at 12 years old. And from the time I was 12 till I was 32, it was just a consistent cycle of getting arrested, getting out, using, getting arrested, getting out, and using. This continued on through my entire adulthood. I have 5 children. When I opted into drug court in 2012, I had never passed a UA in my entire life. Never. I had lost jobs. I was unemployed and unemployable. I was a high school dropout. And I entered into drug court, and you know, one thing that was suggested of me was to at least get my GED. Yeah, I completed my GED in 2013, enrolled in college, and finished my bachelor's degree in 2018. I have 3,994 days clean. That's, 10 years, 11 months and 6 days, 8 days. That's 10 years, 11 months and 8 days of not committing crimes, not using drugs, not being a drain on this community that I was for 20 years prior to that. So I think that there is a testament to the power the drug court holds in this community. When I was arrested for the charge that I opted into drug court on, my attorney suggested that I did not opt into drug court because she didn't feel I would make it in the program. And somebody else had said that, they stayed clean out of spite, and that's kind of was a driving factor for me as well. I went through drug court sanction free myself. But the accountability and the foundation that I was allowed to build in that program has been the basis for everything that I've accomplished in the last almost 11 years. It's given me the ability to be a father, a husband, a brother, and a son. And, and I even have a 4-year-old grandson now that never has to see me loaded, never has to see me in jail. I've not as much as had a speeding ticket in the last 11 years. And that was never even something that I could ever imagine for myself prior to 2012. I was thoroughly convinced and comfortable that that's how my life was going to be. I didn't think there was a way out for me. Drug court changed that. And I will forever be grateful for that program. That's what I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Tracy Williams, and I've been clean for 3 years and 5 months since February 9th, 2020. And I just want to hit on the subject that you guys have been talking about for like the youths at risk, basically. And I know as a child, I depended upon my parents to teach me right from wrong, but they didn't have the ability to be there all the time. So I had to learn myself, and I wouldn't listen to anyone else trying to tell me what was good for me. So it's kind of like breaking the cycle. As a parent, we want to give our kids, right from wrong, and so they can turn that into, a good life and so on and so forth. Okay. Nobody believed I could get clean and change my life. Not having anyone positive in my corner made me feel defeated. All it took was a spark by the drug court family to remind me it was possible if I put the effort in. As I worked the program, my support group grew. I learned how to work through things instead of avoid them and cover it up. My kids and I are very close. We wouldn't have had the opportunity since I was going to prison for many years, but instead I got the help I needed. We need to put more effort into rehabilitation, not less. I'm so grateful for my life and the opportunities I have because of drug court. I can't explain in words what it means to my family to have me back. Thank you to everyone in drug court.
My name is Rhonda Ibarra, and I used to be quite popular and in trouble a lot, and I had at least 4 DUIs and lots of driving unsuspended. And if I would have had programs like this, where like the mental health or drug court, I think it would have been more of an advantage, because it's more like a dual treatment and you learn more. With my failure to get the help that I needed, I subjected my kids to a lot of struggles, and I have one that recently we were trying to get into drug court and he was denied the chance, and he died in a wreck on May 7th. And we were doing everything that we could to get him mental health counseling, and he had the opportunity to be part of drug court. And on a Friday, I got one message saying that he didn't qualify. And then I got another message from one of the counselors that he did qualify, and that if he could write a letter that he may qualify for the program. Well, this was on Friday, and by Sunday, he was dead. Now I have another son that's in the program. And I believe that the program is saving him. So these mental health and the drug court, and they do save people. And I'm grateful that I have one that's still here, because I can't afford to lose another child. And it's well worth it. I'm sure that, like, I know Judge Warning, I'm sure it's been a long time. I mean, I was to the point where self-medicating and relapse and going through just the regular AA without the mental health and the programs that keep you more in check. I was at a point where I had lost my license for about 15 years. I found the information when I was trying to help my youngest son that became addicted because he got his jaw broke, and the self-medicating, the mental health, and all the other issues that went with it. I stumbled across dual diagnosis, and that was one of the things that helped me when I learned that if you don't treat the underlying problem, and you try to do a program that, like I did with just AA, that doesn't help because you're not treating everything that you need to treat. And I just think that people are important, and people relapse. Relapse is part of recovery. And today I have a driver's license, and I have a new rig, and I have things that I wouldn't have had if I wouldn't got the counseling and more help and on medications and different things. But if you don't fund this program, the people like me, I already have enough guilt for what I caused my kids. I really want you to think about the effects that this has, because not everybody's bad. We do things that we don't intend to do while we're under the influence. And just give people a chance to show what they are and who they are. I've never heard anybody say that they wanted to be an addict of any kind. And I don't know. I haven't had to talk about this before, and this has just been real recent. I just got back from El Paso, and my son that died in the car wreck, he is a grandpa. So I went down there to welcome her in and be there for him because he can't no more. I have to close with what I can say, and this is a good program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tricia, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted, it's eating at me with Bo saying he felt my question was irrelevant, and I feel, Arn, you corrected it amazingly. I want to see more, I would love to see more drug courts, and I would absolutely pay for mental health and drug court because I totally believe in it. I want every single person going through mental health court or drug court because it does provide family and it provides structure to be as successful as all these amazing people who have given their testimony. That's what I want. And that was my concern about looking at which providers have the success rate because we want everyone to be successful. Thank you.
Thank you. Judge?
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Judge Gary Basher, presiding judge for Superior Court. Previously was the presiding judge over drug court for about 9 years. I think just to kind of come back, first out, there's no way I can be anywhere near as eloquent as any of the other speakers who've spoken to you today because I don't have those kinds of stories of my own. I got to participate in a lot of those stories. A lot of the folks who's sitting beside me, a couple of who spoke today, when I met them were pretty scary people. They're not scary people now. They're your constituents. The reason I think that we're all here today is so you guys can look at the mental health tax and see if it's something that you want to extend, if you want to continue. And a big piece of that is whether the money is well spent, whether it's needed, whether it's an appropriate use of tax dollars. That's your job. As Judge Evans said earlier, the Superior Court, that's not our lane to tell you how to fund things. It's up to you to figure out what's the best way to come up with the funding to provide the programs that this community needs. As Judge Warning indicated, this tax was created in part by the legislature to assist counties in providing an additional way to fund these types of programs, not just drug courts, but mental health programs, juvenile programs that most counties don't have the extra money to fund with. And so it was specifically designed for these types of programs. It's restricted funding. It can't be used to build roads. I think there's been a pretty good demonstration that the programs, at least drug court, and I think all the other programs that are supported by this tax are money well spent. If you choose to end the tax, my plea to you would be to use road fund money, general fund money, grant money, or any other source of funding you think is more appropriate to continue to fund the programs. So money well spent. Thanks.
Thank you.
Questions?
There's a Q&A that I think, Dennis, you probably said that we answered live, but I don't think we have. Did you intend to just have that as a placeholder?
I did. I think we answered the first one.
That's it's the last one. I would pay 5 times the current tax to help this program continue and expand. If there's a way to contribute to their work outside of the mental health tax, please let us all know. So.
You know, as I was thinking about the one suggestion about the need for an alumni association, it occurred to me that that is a mechanism where you can make some contributions and the alumni association can continue to be supportive. So hopefully you might be able to pursue that. Of course, Adam can't put it together.
No.
It would have to be done by alumni.
But if I can
that's
speak
a
to
neat-
that.
That's a neat option, I think.
That is something that's on the table right now that we're working on. We're looking at ways to form a 501c3 for, funding to help clients that county funds can't. There are restrictions on that. So there are things in the works right now that we're working on putting together, just to answer that question.
To answer that specific question or the alumni question?
The alumni, and that would also lead to ways that people that want to donate to the program, that it can be done.
Yeah, I'd like to think of those as 2 independent questions, right?
Yeah.
We should be able to have a program where people can donate
Mhm.
and say, I want this donation to go here.
Yes. that's what we are working.
And you've got that on your plate now?
Yes, and it's in combination with the alumni. It kind of works together. But
Okay.
yeah, it's something on our plate that we're working on. Candace specifically is, my case manager is kind of trying to pull things together from the community to work on that.
Do we have a timetable on that?
Uh,
I've got a potential board. The number of those counties alumni here and they also
Yeah. Good.
That a lot.
I am a member of a number of alumni associations. And those are kind of membership only. You got to pay a fee to belong. My understanding is you're all in it for life, right?
What's an alumni? They're alumni. How active anyone wants to be is up to them. But, and our goal with that alumni group is to support activities for current clients, support peer support for people that need help navigating the system now that they're working on their recovery. So those are the kinds of things we'd be looking at. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name's Lyle Spurgeon. I'm also a graduate of drug court. So I really didn't know what I wanted to say when I came up here, but first of all, I wanted to thank Judge Warning for starting this program. I wanted to thank Judge Basher for being a part of my recovery and being and my work through drug court as well. And I want to thank Judge Evans for the work that he's doing now. I really appreciate each and every one of you guys. So I guess I wanted to start off by telling you that when I was in my active addiction, I was one of the biggest problems in this community. I was a thief. I was an active IV drug user. I was a menace. I really was. I was homeless on the side of the river. A part of the problem in this county. I would do my crimes anywhere from the top of Ridgefield to all the way up past Castle Rock, all over this county, not just here in Longview and Kelso. I was a part of the problem. And because of drug court, I am now part of the solution. I'm a residential assistant at the treatment center that I graduated from. And I help people on a daily, not just get into recovery, but stay in recovery. And it's because of drug court that I'm able to do this. If it wasn't for drug court opting me in, they would have found me in a ditch. I would have overdosed. I was on the way to do so. But it was because of, and also thank you for the drug court people for taking such good care of me. If it wasn't for them showing me that I am worth the person that I am today, I would never have made it. And it's because of drug court that I can sit here and tell you people that I am worth it. And that every person that's in drug court is worth it. Their families are worth it. Somebody was talking about, the people that drug court has what's the word I'm looking for? Thank you, impacted. Right? I'm telling you right now that drug court has impacted this county. Drug court has impacted, it had made an impact on this state. Because if it wasn't for drug court, my crime rates, the things that I've done would have continued. And I'm talking anywhere from just simple, using in the park, robbing people's houses, stealing people's cars. It was endless what I was doing. And it's because of drug court that today I'm able to do the work that I do and make my living amends for the things that I can't make amends for. That's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, council members. My name's Shad Bonzer. This program, I'm not going to go into great detail about all the stuff I've done in my past. I've stood before these three judges several times. Judge Warring the most. He knows my backstory. It's not a pretty one by any means. I was a menace to society. And I've been through prison 3 times. I've been through all of DOC's rehabilitation programs, and they didn't work. I've been through 15 different behavior modification programs, 3 different inpatients. None of them worked because they didn't treat me like a person. I was just another number, just like in DOC. You're a 6-digit figure and you're just a paycheck. Drug court's totally different from that. Drug court treats people like people. They look at you and they want to get into your life and they want to help your life, not just pass you through another program and put you back on the streets and see you next time. Drug court saves lives. You've heard it time and time again in here. It's been repeated, but it does save lives. And it does impact our youth because we were the youth. A lot of us were the youth, and now we're before you guys. And our youth, fixing us is a great deal to help our youth because we can guide our youth. As new prominent members of society, we can go in and guide our youth and show them a different way to live. Show them that they don't have to live the way that we did. And by fixing our youth, we're fixing the future youth. Drug court impacts lives way beyond any of us right now, right here today. Because of drug court, I've been able to get letters after my name instead of numbers. I work for Core Health as a street outreach peer support counselor. I go out to the streets and I see what's out there. And I help drug court because I can help those people that are looking for help. You know, drug court brings them in. And I've worked with Candace and Adam and Angie hand in hand in bringing the people that come into drug court, being a peer mentor, like Lyle. Lyle's a peer mentor to many people in drug court. And without people like us that have gone through drug court, you won't reach the other ones. Okay, because we are the ones that were out there. We do understand what addiction is. We do know how hard it is. I came from a rough family, worked my way all up to having a 6-figure-a-year job, and then back down to the streets because addiction knows no boundaries. It has no limitations on anything. It can get anybody at any time. It doesn't care who you are. With drug court, they show you that there's another way. They pick you up. They lead you because AA, NA, CA, all those anonymous programs, they work if you want to work it. They work if you go in there and you know what you're looking for. Coming off the streets as being addicts and being in trouble and running our lives the way we ran them into the ground, we don't know what we want. We don't know what we're looking for. Drug court guides us. Drug court picks people up and guides them through the process of getting into recovery, of getting into wanting a different life. You know, I started my program as 885084 and I ended it as Shad Bonzer. And I've come through this program and helping so many other people. Because why? Because I was given a chance. The young lady that sat before you earlier, Tracy Williams, she helped me to get that chance. And you know why helped me to get that chance? Because somebody gave her that chance. She was in drug court. She offered it to help me to get into drug court. She went and talked to Candace. Candace gave me that chance. And now I've worked my way into giving other people chances because I lead other people into it. People that don't know that they want a different life. They don't know anything different. What we do is we come out and we show people that there's a better quality of life that can be lived through working a program. Drug court is a program. Mental health is a program. And it does help people to show them a different path to follow. Because without drug court and without mental health court, they're lost. They don't know the path. It's not lit up for them. This program lights up the pathway
to a better way of life. And because of my being able to go through drug court, my privilege of being able to attend drug court, now I reach out and touch other lives. So drug court, it's like Deborah was saying, it touches way more than just the individuals that are going into drug court. Because once we get our heads straight, we can help other people to get their heads straight. And then we just touch thousands of lives. I also work with Oxford House. I'm privileged to be able to be a member of the chapter of Oxford House. So I understand the numbers and trying to help people, and believe it, we work together to try and make it so that we can find numbers to put into places to help people. But drug courts, their numbers are small compared to what they need. They want to reach out and they want to expand this, and they need to reach out to more people, to expand it, to touch more lives, to where hopefully we can put a huge dent in the problem that we have in society today. These therapeutic courts are the way to do it. Prison-based treatment doesn't work because it's just a way to learn to do something different, the same thing in a different way. It's just criminal school. Drug court puts you into a community where you're learning how to grow with your community and become a prominent member of that community while you're in that community, not while you're behind bars in an isolated institution where they tell you what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. You're actually living the change. You're becoming the change you want to see in the world. I would have never have ever pictured myself having one of these cards. This is a visitor card to get into and out of the jail. I've been in and out of the jail through the back doors many times, but it's because of this program that I'm able to go in and reach out to people that are incarcerated in county jail and help them to get started with their program. And it's all because of this program. Thank you.
Thank you.
How you guys doing? I'm Bobby. I'm an addict. Candace is my other mother, I call her. I'm not gonna get into the whole testimony thing, but I got out of prison in 2020. I've been to jail 24 times since being released. And I couldn't get it figured out until, I was on DOC, and I was pretty much rebellious against DOC. It was pretty much a game. I couldn't stop using. And it wasn't until I got on drug court. I think I've been to jail since I've been on drug court 3, maybe 4 times. The last time I went to jail, I went in sober and I came out sober. There's a piece, of this that you can't, you guys want data and stuff, but there's a part of it you might be able to put it in a graph or whatever, but that's the fellowship that this program creates, like NA and stuff. These people behind me, they're my brothers, my sisters, they're my family. And I go to awakenings, and there isn't a person that comes in new that I don't walk up to. I shake their hand. I tell them, welcome. I'm glad you made it. And if there's anything you need, you can have my number. Please reach out. There's a lot of us in the drug court program that are on fire for recovery. And I've heard you guys mention a couple times, adult drug court is the end of the line, but it's not. It's just the beginning. It's just the beginning for me. I'm 5 months, 17 days, 37 minutes clean. In less than 2 weeks, I'll have my kids back in my life. In less than 2 weeks, I'll be 6 months clean. The first 8 to 10 months of drug court, I had a hard time. I remember the first time I got a week, I got 2 weeks. I got 2 weeks, 3 times, 30 days, 2 or 3 times. But this is the first time that I feel alive again. And I couldn't get that from GOC. I think defunding drug court is absolutely lucrative, honestly. And like these other people have said, we're constantly reaching out, and it's not just, you know, the numbers might be small, but look at all the people that we affect going through. I just want to thank you, Judge Evans. I thank you guys. I love you guys. I love all you guys. There's probably something else I was gonna say, but you know, I can't remember, but thank you. That's all I got. Thank you.
I'm Bo Nelson. February 1st, 2016 is when I got clean. See, it was 2 years, I believe, I was in before I graduated. I don't remember the exact date when I graduated, sorry. The counseling and the support that we got from drug court to help change our lives when we're ready to actually change our lives made so much difference in my life and my family's life that it's almost unfathomable. Back when I was busted, which I'm super grateful for today. I remember when I graduated, they asked me to write a apology letter. It ended up being a thank you letter to my arresting officer because it changed my mentality and the way I think and look at things so much. When I came in, I was just super, super done. I was over all the drama, over all the crap, and over existing, not living. That part. Anyways, I just wanted to live. I wanted to actually be a productive, decent part of society and a human being that was worth saying hi to. But it completely changed my life and I'm very grateful for it. I have a very large family of 120 people that came to the reunion this year. There should have been about 300, but we had about 120. And I'm the reason that we had the family reunion. And I've been helping bring my family together, putting camp stations up there, trying to bring all that back together. I've heard all the people talk about being a part of their family and doing that. And that's what came to mind in my head was I helped put in power stations, and we have huge family reunions every year now because I started them up there. You know, so like there's so much else in other people in our lives that we affect. All the people, once we try to be good humans and actually do it and see that it's rewarding and feels good, and you know, it changes a lot. Thank you guys. I wouldn't be the person I am today without drug court and all the support from everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Well,
Hi, my name is Tabitha. This is Chris. We're from Lewis County. We also have Troy with us. I was a graduate 7 years ago as of August 1st. How long ago were you? September 12th. We're all three active alumni. When I finished drug court, I was coming up probably around this time 7 years ago. I was terrified. I had no idea what was next. Excuse me, super nervous. I'll admit that. So my accountability buddy and I, we started talking about like, what do we do next now that our foundation is done, drug court, right? And that's what we talked. I've heard several people talk about. Well, previous to us joining drug court, there was an alumni. I don't know what happened to it. I don't even know how many members there were. As of today, since I graduated, there are 15 active alumni, 65 in our group chat, 15 that actively come. Participants join our alumni meetings. We have activities, we do give backs in the community. We are recognized by the Chronicle and Centralia. I've been to 3 of the drug court conferences in Seattle. So there is success after. And I have been talking with Candace and Mindy, and I'm willing to help get that alumni here started up so that we can continue that progress and have the funding for drug court here.
I would guess since you're from Lewis County, you probably know my nephew, Stephen Dahl.
I do. Yeah. I actually moved here 3 years ago and I currently work at Core Health, and we just recently got with the contract on drug court. So I'm excited to be one of the SUD counselors providing for drug court and working to give back to a program that gave me my life back.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of progress and I'm excited for it.
Thank you.
I'm Chris. I'm from Lewis County too. That's what the alumni does. When one's nervous, we come up to support the other. I heard a couple of things. I had a lot more to say before I got up here. I did hear a couple of things though, like, the bottom line, the cost, things like that. This is coming out of tax dollars. So I know, and I also heard about the early intervention, right? So I know for me as a kid, I'm sure that kids that have parents or grow up in situations where if a parent sees something going on and they have the ability to intervene. I know my mother was murdered when I was 15 and I went straight to drugs because drugs gave me purpose. And there was no way I was going to turn back, right? So the early trauma, nothing was going to push me towards becoming clean. Regardless, I don't know, it's, sorry. That's all I got.
Okay, thanks.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Clark Hislop. For the record, I lived in Kelso for 28 years. Now I reside in Castle Rock. Generally, I lean very conservative on spending dollars. But I will say that I've been in the program of recovery for many years, and some of us need a nudge from the judge when you're in active addiction. And I think drug court, I've never been in drug court, but I've sponsored few of the members that have gone through drug court and helped them be part of society and learn how to do things different. I had all kinds of things going through my mind before I walked up here. I apologize. But I will say that drug court is the nudge from the judge. And if you don't, what's the word? If an alcoholic or an addict has more reasons to drink or use, they will continue to drink or use. And sometimes that little nudge or that direction or that guidance or the boot in the butt may be the motivation for them to change their lives. And once they have that, then they have all kinds of resources to go. You mentioned several of the 12-step programs. I've been a member of many of them and still. And they work when you want to work them. But that turning point or that readiness to change is brought up by many different things. And in these folks' case, because like I said, I've known several that have gone through this program. That's what they needed, was that initial boot in the tail and the caring and being treated like humans. I'm from a long line of alcoholics in my world and been in this county for a long time. My great grandfather was in Longview when it was first founded. But I can tell you, he died drinking bourbon and milk. My grandfather, the same. I won't speak of my father, he's still alive. But as of today, 12,652 days, one day at a time. And that's by somebody caring, somebody giving you that nudge and giving you that start to do something different. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody for coming. If somebody wants to speak, you're certainly welcome to, but I think, we've had a lot of great testimony. I'll offer if my colleagues have any comments, but to be honest with you, even though I'm the youngest, you're starting to press my bladder here. So
Were we gonna hear from George?
George,
But
did I forget about you, George? I don't know what I was thinking.
you were thinking bladder. Do you want to
Yeah.
take a 5-minute break?
We might take a 5-minute break. Is that okay with you guys? Okay. We'll recess this for 5 minutes, okay?
Almost anything. You know? At least because I'm working court, but 99% of the time, and I'll make this a priority. I have.
Friday?
Mhm. Yeah, earlier. and usually that I can get attention. Yeah.
We need to really.
Yeah.
We gotta get it all. He does that.
We have a his favorite place to lay.
Well, appreciate your particular presentation.
Oh, thank you.
You know, I'm sensitive. He has a few roles, so
Is one of those.
we've all got stories.
We do. There are, and I don't want to give me I wanted, everything is out. We actually had 5 repeats.
Yeah.
That they filmed out earlier and then later,
Yeah.
and we pulled those out because that one disputed. That's student positive.
Are you still with NAMI?
No, they only had they had 2-3 year.
They
Right.
closed their office here. right?
Yeah, they
About
did.
2 years. ago, 3
Right
years
about the
ago?
time I was.
Yeah.
So the board was you could serve up to 6 years. So I completed my 6 years. And they closed their office. I think they're still having meetings here, or at least they were for a while.
Yeah. And my understanding then is that drug court actually has contracts with various providers.
We don't have contracts, we hold MOUs.
MOUs, yeah.
So
But you,
we have expectations.
and you pay them for,
No, there's no pay from us. So.
that's
nothing-
really crucial.
Yeah, nothing comes from us to them. They serve our clients. They do receive CJGA funds, some of the agencies.
But it doesn't go through your hands.
No. We have a
Nothing goes through your hands.
We have a small amount of CJGA funds, but it's directly from us to clients for recovery support.
Right.
Emergency housing type stuff. But
It's
nothing passes through us to the treatment agencies.
Good.
Yeah. So they use private insurance, state insurance, any kind of funding that they receive. that all comes from them.
That's probably an important thing. Probably. Chair's got to be certain that's clear in his mind. I stopped short of pressing one issue, which is, on the one hand, some people are spending $2.5 million on Camp Coke.
On what?
Camp Coke, Camp Alabama too.
Yep.
And that clearly doesn't have the elements that you guys have.
No, it doesn't. We have a few. A couple.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they don't have the program. I really think a lot of what enhances drug court is the community aspect. And that's what we've really been working on building, is because we lost that during the pandemic.
We lost it before that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there, it just, because I don't know if I don't know if I'll speak to it or not. A thing I got out of this is everybody recognizes it. If they won't get fixed. HR stuff, I don't like.
Okay, we're gonna come back from recess and Mr. Moya.
Good afternoon, commissioners, members of the public. George Moya, Juvenile Court Administrator. I'm here to let you know how our Youth Services Center uses the behavioral tax funding. We currently have 2 positions in the books, essentially 2 FTEs. One FTE, which is the mental health care coordinator, has been vacant since April of 2021. And why is that the case? Because COVID hit, our numbers dwindled down. And once that person left the position, we felt it was necessary not to fill it, not knowing what the numbers were going to look like in terms of caseloads, in terms of children and family we were serving in our community. There was a lot of unknowns. So in order for us to be a little bit more responsible in terms of the position, we chose not to do that. The current position that we do have, the 1 FTE that the funding is being used for, is to fund our mental health clinician. And I can let you know that having done so, we have been one of 2 courts in the states that went that route for their own juvenile court to have their own clinician, which was a major thing for us. As you've heard today, there was talks about intervention. Well, for this position specifically, that is what we're trying to do as well. To do the early intervention, to do the early connections to our community, and to start building the skill sets that are necessary in order for them to go into a successful path, whatever that may be for that individual. So for us, it's really, we're funding one position. And that position is Mr. John London. I can let you know he's here today. Part of his credentials are that he has a master's in psychology. He has a graduate certificate in addiction studies. He has 25 years of experience, and I would venture to say a lot of those years have been in this community, and he can answer that. So the 25 years experience, part of his trainings have been child mental health specialist, mental health professional, trauma-focused certified mental health trainer for juvenile justice specifically. So we use Mr. London for a variety of ways. So we stretch him in every direction. I like to just focus right now on 4 major directions that we focus him on. One, our detention department. So he does risk assessments with youth that come into our in custody. He checks in with them for their well-being, and he also provides continuity of care. So meaning,
George, excuse me. What do you mean by assessment? What does that mean?
An assessment could be they're coming in and we do an actual assessment. Is it the Macy, John? We use the Macy tool. That's a validated tool that we use in order to extrapolate information, in which Mr. London uses that information to try to understand what the issues may be for this individual at this point in time. And the youth may come in for a second time, and we will do that risk assessment again, because we want to see if there's been changes in life. So that's the reason why we do the risk assessments as they come in.
So I'm assuming that includes an inventory of ACEs that have been experienced, or is that necessarily part of it? It's just a conversation which you try to decide the challenges that are involved.
Yeah, it just helps to identify what trauma they may have on board, how much alcohol and drugs play a factor in their life, any abuse that they've gone through, how they view school, how they view the rules of society.
And then with that assessment, what does the institution do with that?
Gives us an idea of what services they need to get going with. If they're just coming in for the first time on a charge and they're going to get PR'd back to home, send them home with materials to have their parents assist them with getting into mental health counseling, getting into SUD treatment. Just really looking at where can we hit the ground running instead of waiting for the next behavior to come out and maybe get arrested again.
Now, is that where safe and hope courts come into play too, or do they not play a role with this?
Not usually at the very beginning.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry.
So again, going back to the 4 major contributing areas that we use, Mr. London, 1 is our detention facility. 2, our probation department. So he helps us with youth that are on probation, youth that are also doing some programming at our department. The 3rd component is the courts. He's a valuable resource to the courts. He is a member of the drug court team, our mental health court as well. The 4th component is our community. So John is just not working specifically with us, but also he's also contributing in our community. And he has been, I can let you know. So what I mean by that is that sometimes we get youth that come into services that want services, but we can't provide services because they're not part of our juvenile justice system. They haven't committed a crime. So we just took the stance that we're going to help everybody who comes through our doors. And this is where John comes in. Sometimes it may be a quick consultation. It may be a connection to another resource in the community, or it could just be educating that parent in terms of what it is that may help that parent with a specific mental health issue that they may have. So John is also part of the Quest Advisory Board in the community. Mental Health Community Collaborative, he's a participant there. Highlander Hope Community participant. We have Family Youth System Partner Roundtables, which we say FYSPRT, which is our local and regional advisory. And he's also part of our diversion program that we use in terms of trying to divert youth from continuing to stay in our criminal justice system. So he's an active participant there. So we really use the funding for one position currently. We're still assessing those needs. Our caseloads are going up. I know that we have another workshop presentation coming up where we can present more numbers in terms of probation and detention. And we're assessing everything. But currently, Mr. London is being stretched in every direction currently.
I know we, in our juvenile facility, we contract with a county in Oregon and in different places that don't have them. And I guess I'm making an assumption here that the fee we charge kind of helps cover all this stuff, or how do we? I mean, because you're providing those services for those counties too, right?
So in any kid that is in our jurisdiction, in our detention facility, whether it be a Columbia County contract or whether it be the state contract, they're all going to be treated the same. We're going to provide the same services, and John is going to provide check-ins and do the risk assessments and what's needed.
Okay. Comments, questions? No.
Fine.
Pretty straightforward.
The question that runs through my mind is, before we had this funding, how did you assess kids? How was that done? Obviously.
It was difficult, and I can tell you that the county and other commissioners before you had identified that there was a growing need of mental health and SUD and things of that nature, and the risk associated with that. We saw that, and the opportunity was, how do you respond to that? Well, how do you deal with the increase in referrals of mental health, increase in potential violent youth that have an SUD or mental health issue related to that? Well, we wanted to protect staff. We wanted to protect children. We wanted to protect everyone. And so the possible solution was for us to hire someone in-house. We used to work with Columbia Wellness. The difficulty in doing a collaborative that way, if there were staffing issues or other priorities that Columbia Wellness identified, well, that individual was gone. And so we didn't have control of the scheduling. We didn't have control of the consistency that goes with that. So hiring someone in-house was the best thing we've ever did, because we not only were addressing all the issues and trying to mitigate all those risks, but on top of that, one valuable resource that Mr. London has been to us and to everyone in our facility, including detention, probation, and anybody else, even the courts, is that ongoing training. Mr. London is currently doing quarterly trainings for us and our staff. And when we can't capture everyone, we'll record that training and we can present it to other officers in detention during their shift. So that has been an invaluable resource to us. So for us to be up to date on mental health, because we are not mental health professionals, this has been an invaluable resource for us.
Thank you.
Judge?
I'm not currently presiding at a juvenile. I do a docket out there on Thursdays, but one of the things I kind of wanted to speak to on this, we get a lot of kids come through the system. Some of them don't end up on probation. They go through a diversion program, which is a mandatory program under the state law. So kids come in, they get an opportunity to not have a criminal record. In order to deal with those kids, like every other strata of people in the county, or probably the whole country, we have seen increases in mental health issues, which have come out of, some of it's come out of what appears to be out of the COVID lockdown. Some of it appears to be just society in general. Some of it's just, I think we're identifying better mental health problems earlier. And I think to speak to Commissioner Mortensen's concern about intervening early, about school kids' age, we're taking these kids before they develop this criminal history, the criminal records, becoming kind of the career criminal that end up in our drug courts. If we can intervene early with the services that John helps us identify, we have a better chance of not having those kids back into our system, back into the adult criminal system. So it's that early intervention that you're looking for, and trying to do that in the best way we can. Like George said, our probation officers, they're not mental health professionals. That's a specialized field. I'm certainly not a mental health professional. And I would rely on John or somebody from Columbia Wellness to come in and do that. This gives us the responsiveness that is very helpful to the court. So and I'm happy to answer questions if you have any.
Judge or George, I'm not sure which, do we have any of the data that let me begin like this. I agree with what you said. I believe it, and sometimes it's hard when you're dealing with things that are partially intangibles. But do we have any data that says people who have gone through before and after we've reduced the problem, the after problem? I'm gonna look to you, George.
And it's difficult to answer because prior to Mr. London, we relied heavily on Columbia Wellness, and we didn't have data from Columbia Wellness or if they were sharing data or not. And that was certainly before my position. So I'm not sure. I'd have to look back to see what the records look like. I can tell you that we know the value of data. And so since Mr. London's been here, we have been collecting data through our database. So part of the funding for behavioral health is also to fund a database that we're able to use in terms of putting in the data so that we can, again, take that data out and start making some decisions based on that.
I'd really be interested in seeing the packaging somehow of the data. I think there's a general consensus that the mores have changed out in the street. What was not permissible 20 years ago seems sort of common now, and you cannot fight that trend. But if you are successful, even in a little bit, that helps a lot.
Certainly.
I'm not sure exactly which, again, I'm not a statistician. I'm not, that's not my field, but I think there's data we could track. And if we want to identify what data you'd like to see or what data we think would be helpful in evaluating the actual impact, it'll be a little.
Yeah, like I've wandered a lot in my life, and I come here to Cowlitz County and I find so many people have been here their entire life, beginning through the juvenile court and maybe the superior court. And so you've got some numbers available to you. I think it's always helpful to
I think it's a good question, and I think it's something we can certainly take a look at and see if we can come up with what we have.
I know with long-term tracking, it's going to be difficult on youth because a lot of youth leave the county. So then there's no way to track them. They graduate high school, go off to college, go to the military.
I didn't say it was easy.
Yeah.
But it's easier here
Yeah, I
than
would love
elsewhere.
to see where a kid's at it, a youth has gone at 19 and 20, but there's just no way to track that, because you do lose the trail after a while.
Any questions, comments that audience wants to put in? Okay. Why, we don't have anybody else yet. I'm not premature again.
Thank you for the time.
Yeah.
So probably the next steps on the issue is at sometime before the sunset clause takes
Yeah,
effect, we
my-
have a decision to make?
My impression on the sunset clause, even though we're saying it's the end of the year, I think it sunsets in spring of 24.
Hmm.
But there's about a 3-month period ahead of time when we have to arm it up or to disarm it.
Well,
That puts us at the end of this.
and of course, September and October's budget. Then, we have to make those budget decisions
Right.
too.
Yeah.
So we'll be coming back and we'll have at least as part of our budgeting process, we'll have.
Yeah, there'll be further discussions, but I think this is the last group that we've had in and I always tell people I appreciate that they come in and do this. For me, it's been a real education and it's not always easy, right? You're going to get asked tough questions and you have tough answers but that's how you grow and how you learn things and how you do it. So I appreciate everybody taking the time. It was wonderful to see a full room today. I love all the testimony and people caring enough to be involved, to be part of the process is what we look for.
Yeah, I particularly enjoyed that, certainly began with Judge Evans, separating out the problem of the funding versus the program. First, you have to decide the program. Then if it's important, it's up to us to find the funding.
Right.
And of course, everything is in competition in the sense of prioritizing. So we are looking and asked HHS to provide us a sense of priority on some of the stuff they're involved with in terms of the mental health tax or the behavioral health tax.
Yeah. It's not always an easy process.
No.
I'm a retired banker. I'm going to like data, right? Numbers. It's the way the computer works.
If they're in black, right?
Yeah. But you can't always get it. And George and I had this conversation a little bit is because the intangibles is what you can't see. We had a gal come up and talk and she got her kids back and she's helped how many through emergency support shelter and you heard a gal talk about got her parents off drugs. We don't see those intangibles, and those intangibles have costs and have savings. And sometimes they're hard to how you blend all that in. So the data is good, but I want you to know, we also try to understand the intangibles that come with that. It's really a bigger package sometimes than just numbers. But anyway, any closing comments or we'll appreciate your time. We will adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Dahl, we have an executive session.
We do? Kathy, okay, how long? 10 minutes? Okay, so we will adjourn to executive session.
Hi, Kathy.
Thanks for your time.
board is extending the executive session for a period of 5 minutes until 4:35 p.m. The board is extending the executive session for a period of 5 minutes until 4:40.
We're back from an executive session for contract negotiations. No decisions were made. Any last comments for this meeting?
No comments?
Okay, we will adjourn. Thank you.